Members of the People's Democratic Party have approached the Supreme Court to challenge the powers President Bola Tinubu has to suspend the democratic structure of a state. Now, the governors are also challenging the declaration of a state of emergency rule in Rivers State. The states whose governors have filed the suit are Adamawa, Enugu, Osun, Oyo, Bauchi, and Akwa Ibom. Others are Plateau, Delta, Taraba, Zamfara, and Bayelsa states. Now, it had previously been reported the aggrieved governors had filed a suit at the Apex Court challenging the president's controversial decision, but the actual suit was filed on Tuesday. Meanwhile, the Rivers State government has announced the appointment of administrators for the 23 local government areas in the state. Well, the decision approved by Administrator retired Vice Admiral Ibogete Ibas also includes the reconstitution of some boards of agencies, commissions and parastatals that had earlier been suspended. The Civil Service Commission consists of 5 members, including its chairman, Livinus Bariki, while the Local Government Service Commission has 7 members, with Israel Ahmadi as chairman. Now, this development comes as after a court scheduled April 14 to hear a suit seeking to stop the appointment. Now, let's bring in lawyer and Arise analyst Frank Tete. Good to have you on Newsnight tonight. So the sole administrator has gone ahead to appoint 23 other sole administrators at the local government level in spite of a court order 24 hours before the court order actually came. Is there any law that empowers a sole administrator of a state to go ahead within the circumstances, to pick, make this appointments?
Illegality begets illegality. And until there is a correction by the person who has the power to do it, in this case the president. The concept of a sole administrator is strange and unknown to Nigerian constitution, and it's important that we remind the brilliant and exceptional advisors of our president that these things must go according to law. Section 1 of the Nigerian constitution says that no part of the federation, the whole federation, and no part of it, no person can take over the federation or any part of it, except in accordance with the provisions of the constitution. So, as we speak, Rivers State has been taken over by a sole administrator that is unknown to law. In previous cases, whether in Williams and Majekudumi that attempted to define the powers of a president, the courts always withdrew, saying that it's a matter that has to do with the president. But what does the president do when nobody challenges actually his powers to declare a state of emergency, but the appointment of a personality unknown to law? And while Nigerians are grappling with that, the said personality, which is operating as an illegal personality, now goes ahead to take decisions that are supposed to be political. And that's the problem. Let's understand that, whereas it's in the news, I haven't verified it, whereas for certain reasons, monies that are accruable to Rivers State were seized by the federal government as a result of a court order.
Based on the Supreme Court.
Based on an order of the court, the Supreme Court. Yeah, and then that's for an elected governor. So on what basis should an unelected personality unknown to the people of Rivers State in terms of its politics now begin to take consequential actions? I think the president must be reminded that it's a dangerous precedent to disregard the provisions of the constitution.
If the sole administrator, whom you say is occupying that position illegally, is not empowered by any law, or is not envisaged even by the constitution to go ahead and carry out this, actions, what are the other options? Should governance stop in Rivers State because it's a sole administrator that's in charge?
That's why.
What does the constitution envisage?
The constitution envisages that when there is a breakdown of law and order, public order, or a semblance or a likelihood of a breakdown of public order, the governor himself can call on the president to declare a state of emergency so that, spirited actions can be taken to restore order. Now, the expectation is that states of emergency is as a result of, matters that have to do with security or that actually affect the, proper governance. In this case, so it may be as a result of a natural disaster or, as we have it, a political crisis.
Yes, I do understand all of that. My point is, now that you have a sole administrator based on a state of emergency, What are the options
Let us
in
not
terms
proceed,
of providing
let us not
ensuring that
proceed on
the
a
state
wrong,
does not suffer?
Let us not proceed on a wrong foundation. You
Okay.
do not need a sole administrator. There is an elected governor. It's an illegality. We don't have to repeat a wrong just because we have done it before. This morning, the headline on Daily Trust is that is Governor Zulum acknowledging that Boko Haram is gaining ground in Borno State.
Yes.
The Shehu of Borno said Boko Haram is now in control of 3 local government areas. If the president were to declare a state of emergency there, it is because he wants to restore order, not to suspend the president. No, I mean, not to suspend the governor. And then the governor who is elected has the political responsibility. Political power is very important. It comes only by the ballot box. And to take consequential decisions like appointment of, chairman of boards and all that, I mean, it's an aberration of the highest order.
So how does this render the appointments made by the sole administrator? He has 6 months to go.
The sole administrator is on a mission of confusion to exacerbate the troubling situation in River State. And the president knows it now. And the sole administrator thinks like a military man. I mean, there was really nothing that stopped the president for asking to ask the chief of defense staff to move his men there to restore order. And then one can understand, because chief of defense staff or any of the service chiefs, they have constitutional authority. But for goodness sake, a civilian from another state, I mean, from nowhere, and this is appointed as sole administrator, and then he begins to take political decisions, further annoying the people, creating a crisis in River State.
Now, these appointments now and other decisions taken by the sole administrator, including, of course, the disbursement of funds, people are asking, are we sure that Fubara will come back after the 6-month tenure of this sole
Fubara
administrator?
is still...
If that's not, what happens then?
Oh, no. I think we shouldn't be unnecessarily preemptive. And let's take it as a matter of fact. Fubara is the governor of Rivers State. The president is on a pathway of disregard,
but there are reports that
his
photographs have been taken away from,
I mean,
vital,
so this, and I want us to face this. President Tinubu must agree and understand that he has the same powers of an executive president, just like the governor, because these powers are derivable from the constitution. If the constitution says, do not take over or govern any part of this federation except according to the provisions of the constitution, Mr. President, would you want your powers also to be limited in any way with regards to your powers to govern this federation? You don't do that to a governor. And I will put my life on the line if anybody tries to, reduce the power of the president or take over the powers of the president against the provisions of the constitution. I will do that for President Tinubu. Therefore, President Tinubu cannot sit as president under the powers of this constitution and take away the powers of an elected governor. And everybody, with all of these people advising, everybody is quiet. The only persons who are supposed to be in the National Assembly, look, we are in a republic, and that means that we don't have to go to the streets. That's why we elected people into the parliament. They are supposed to call the president to order. Now they are going to the Supreme Court. What will the Supreme Court say? And then the Supreme Court will state, as it now has a new posture of now washing his hands off political matters. So the Supreme Court will tell them and say, look, it's a matter for the National Assembly to decide, to delimit your powers when it has to do with state of emergency. For goodness sake, President Tinubu knows the right thing to do.
What is that right thing?
The right thing is that do not appoint a sole administrator. It is unknown. It's an aberration. Sack him today. Restore the governor to his place. Tell the chief of defense staff to take necessary measures and restore whatever peace you want in Rivers State. The same thing you need to do in Borno State and the rest of this country that is seriously on the tenterhooks and teetering on terrible insecurity. We have an existential problem, and you don't exacerbate it by disregarding openly the provisions of the constitution. President Tinubu was told the right path, and it's the path according to law.
We have to leave it there. Frank Tete, lawyer, Arise News analyst. Thank you very much.